So Bitcoin did something today that actually looks like it might have some legs, okay? And you guys know that my job is to be as objective as possible. And so bulls, this finally might be the video for you where I switch up my tune, but I want to go over it here. So obviously we're on Bitcoin, we're in our macro range, we're in our, we've been here for 3-4 months, etc. And you guys know that my tune lately has been, I want to see Bitcoin accumulate. I want to see Bitcoin accumulate just like it did in, the last bull market or back in last August. It hit a low and then it actually stayed down. And that's kind of what I've been saying lately, right? And I think that we haven't really even broken down. We're still in our macro range and we need to accumulate. If you've been around the channel, then you know that. Now, today, Bitcoin did something which actually might spark up some fire here, okay? And I want to explain what it is, and I want to explain why I'm thinking maybe we get a push up. That doesn't mean long right now, right? Like always, I'm going to give my bullish case. I'm going to give my bearish scenario. I'm going to give my invalidation for what this idea might be, okay? Because nothing is confirmed yet, but this is the idea, and we'll see how it goes, okay? So what's happening? My last video, I talked about how this still was not an accumulation and how I would like to see the low get taken. But in my very objective video, I also stated that in this range, we had a 3-tap accumulation. We had a 1, we had a 2, and we had a 3. And then up and away we went. Now, we did break technically. Yes, we didn't break high enough for me to be super happy about it, but we still technically broke. And so, with this much of a break, you could expect either a lower low or a higher low. We have to see what structure gives us, right? What happened today? So this is technically an accumulation, like I said, not the cleanest, but an accumulation. And then Bitcoin broke out, and then now it came back for the retest, okay? When it came back for the retest, it left all of this liquidity behind. So we're going to come back to this liquidity here in just a few minutes. But what happened locally speaking? I'm going to jump down to like the 30-minute time frame. Locally speaking, we had a little range, okay? Now remember, I keep talking about liquidity. I keep talking about accumulations, right? This is a accumulation locally, but it's not just an accumulation locally. It's an accumulation after having kind of an accumulation, okay? I know I keep saying accumulation, but it's an accumulation of a retest. And so this is very powerful for a couple of reasons. Number one, like I mentioned, if 40 is going to be the low, right, and this is going to be a correct breakout, then your expectational order flow is higher low to make higher high, okay? We talked about this liquidity that's up here prior to recently, right? We talked about this liquidity and how we can absolutely come for it. And we talked about other liquidity, which was specifically this liquidity. And this is something that I've been stating for quite some time. I'm like, man, they really need to start taking liquidity, because if they're not doing liquidity, then they're not accumulating, etc. Let's take a look. I'm going to draw a horizontal line of where today's low went. We're going to come back to this low in a few minutes here, but I want to draw a horizontal line to where this line went. Where was the liquidity that we were talking about? Right here, right? Your trend line people. We're drawing that trend line, which effectively people think is support, but it ends up being liquidity, and then we end up coming for it. Now, when we had this dump the other day, I was thinking, okay, maybe we're going to form a Model 1 accumulation at these lows and then potentially go higher from here. So we were expecting this, and I did have a long prepared here for the premium Discord, right? I was ready for this long. Now, this long is very important, though, because not only are we locally speaking, like I said, having that accumulation, but this wick, which is this line, actually swept the entire liquidity that, in my opinion, was relevant and that we needed to sweep, or I wanted us to sweep. You could never say need in trading. So because we actually did something effective with this Model 1 accumulation, while it was a Model 1 accumulation, or it is one, I can't say was, it's not over yet. That's a big sign, guys. That's a very big sign. Now, the title of this video or thumbnail, I haven't decided yet, is Bitcoin might have some legs, right? I have to give a bullish case and a bearish case scenario. And I think that right now, Bitcoin's first test is to take today's high. Today's price action was kind of like all over the place. It was kind of wonky. We had a fake out, fake down, fake back up, and then fake back down. So they literally just like zigzagged all over the place, right? But that's typically the price action that you get at significant highs and lows. So while this 3-tap Model 1 accumulation is a very good looking Model 1 accumulation, it also did something significant, and you have all this liquidity that we can come back for. Like I said, Bitcoin looks like it's actually starting to have some legs here, and that perhaps we are not actually going to see the lower end of this range again, because this is giving the proof. Price action will tell you faster than anything else that we might actually not be going lower. Okay? So where is Bitcoin's test? Well, Bitcoin needs to take really this high and then this high at 61.2. Now, in my opinion, this is so the make or break moment when if and when we get up to 61.5 to 62.2. Because this is notable supply, okay? Just above this supply, you have all this liquidity. So if this supply is not going to work, we're going to get sucked up to the highs of last week or this week or whenever these highs were, okay? So that being said, when we were talking about the 4-hour time frame, right? On the previous video about how the 4-hour was still bearish, this is objectively your 4-hour time frame, right? You have low, high, low, and then now potentially this could be a lower high. Not for sure, right? Potentially. So assuming this 4-hour lower high is going to play out, your expectational order flow is a lower low, right? And we got a little bit bearish a couple days ago because your 1-hour time frame did in fact flip bearish. Now, it didn't flip bearish on Bybit, but it flipped bearish on every other time frame. And so I'm like, okay, the lower high is in, the lower high is in. But what do I always say? We got to eat the ginger. We got to be as objective as possible. And we got to start paying attention to structure. So your 1 hour, flipped bearish. But after your 1 hour flipped bearish, when you came to these lows, we actually flipped that 1 hour bullish. Okay. And then after flipping that 1 hour bullish, we could have potentially right now faked out one more time with that SFP, giving you that Model 1 accumulation. Why is this notable? When your 1 hour time frame is pointing down, after your 4-hour time frame is already pointing down as well, things get bearish, right? You are to assume that your 4-hour lower high is in, like we already indicated. However, if your 1 hour time frame flips back to bullish so soon, right? Like how many breaks did we really have? Maybe arguably 2. So if you flip back to bullish so soon, something's up. They're probably going to come for something. When we were talking about that 4-hour high, what were we talking about? I was saying that we could potentially SFP that 4-hour high into that 4-hour supply zone, right? So if your 1 hour flipped back to bullish, and mind you, let me add, it flipped back to bullish after giving you this beautiful accumulation, and this beautiful accumulation swept all this liquidity, things all of a sudden are not looking as bearish as they were literally yesterday or 12 hours ago. And so that's why I decided I want to make this video, because I believe that this is Bitcoin's make or break, okay? I think that this next couple weeks are going to be Bitcoin's make or break. And why do I say that? Well, if you pull your volume, the fixed volume for the macro range, give or take, we rejected from the value area low. Just above, or we had a fake out of the volume profile rather. Just above that retest, I guess, of that value area low that we might get here, which we rejected from again, by the way, is your order block. And this is, in my opinion, your make or break order block. This liquidity is suggesting that this order block is not going to work out. And if you start closing candles back above this 4-hour high, which we've talked about, then your expectational order flow all of a sudden becomes, right? Here's your 4-hour structure now, right? You have high, you have low, you have high, you have low. If you start closing candles above here, your expectational order flow is to make a higher low to then make a higher high. So in my opinion, the invalidation for this overall idea is this low. Because if this low was going to be, I don't know why I drew that diagonally. If this low was going to be a true accumulation, which like I said, it is an accumulation. You had your 3-tap and you broke bullishly. And then now you're coming for the potential retest with yet another accumulation following this overall structure. If this is going to be how it is and how it looks right now, then this should not get tapped again. If this gets tapped again, it's not the most bullish thing unless you SFP it, but I don't think that you need to come back down for these lows anymore. I think Bitcoin did its job of purging the liquidity, and I think it did a very good job of getting that SFP and getting that accumulation done. 2 accumulations back to back while we have all this liquidity, while we have all this liquidity, and most importantly, while we have all this liquidity. Now, I'm not telling you we're going to all-time highs because I don't know. I can't tell you 100K we're not like, let's talk about 65. If we have the gas to get up there, we might. And that's what the point of this video is, right? So it's not about being a perma bear. It's not about being a perma bull. It's about taking what the chart gives you, building your narrative, and having an idea as to what might happen next. And right now, today's SFP completed a Model 1 accumulation. It's not complete yet. It's not fully confirmed. It's confirmed on the 5-minute, maybe the 10-minute, but nothing more than that. So I still think we got some time. It's also about to be weekend volume. So once again, that doesn't mean gig along it right now. But after getting this accumulation and this accumulation, and I wanted to see lower, and we're not getting lower. Bitcoin doesn't want to get lower. If it's not going to go down, guys, it's going to go up. You know, we also have election year and whatever. I'm not into the news and all that. I don't know how things play out during that. I wasn't trading 4 years ago during the last election. But I take what the chart gives me. That's it. I take what the chart gives me, and I'm objective about what I see. And what I'm seeing right now is Bitcoin has hope. Okay? Now, I think if Bitcoin comes back up to 65K and whatnot, and then it gets smacked down again, I think it's just going to be a long road down, right? I think that Bitcoin needs to move now. When it has these double accumulations, now is the chance for Bitcoin to move because we have proper accumulations. If it fails this move, in my opinion, it's just going to go lower. But right now, it's not looking like it wants to fail the move. And just to add the cherry on top now, if we come to Market Cypher, what do we have? Weekly time frame, we have a white dot with thick money flow, potentially a cheat sheet entry on the weekly. Okay? 3-day, we have a red dot. Yes, fine. Daily, we have a red dot. Yes, fine. However, big however, 4-hour, 6-hour, bullish divergences. This is not a weak signal, guys. We have vectors that we can recover. You know the rules. You know the rules. You got to look to the left and say that those vectors can get recovered. You also have this liquidity, which I mentioned, that can get recovered. And we have a lot of liquidity if you build up the heat. If you bring up the heat map, which I'm not going to bring up, but if you bring up the heat map, you have a lot of liquidity to the left that we can come and attack. So we'll see how it goes. I'm following my structure. We're long right now. I took profit on the shorts and I'm watching it. But I have to remain objective. And objectively, things are looking like Bitcoin might have some legs here. So I wanted to bring this update to you. No one can call me a perma bear. I call it how I see it. Now, dominance, I still think is going to continue to rise personally. But if there's going to be an altcoin season, I think it's going to have to happen relatively soon. Because now all of a sudden that Bitcoin looks like it has some legs. This is a sideways range where when do we see altcoin season generally? When Bitcoin pumps, which it has. Then it goes sideways and does nothing, which it has. And then dominance starts to fall. So if Bitcoin is going to get accepted back within this range, which I think we'll know soon, then dominance is going to have to start doing something. Okay? Alts are going to have to start moving. So depending on what happens here over the next few days, I don't think I'm too eager to like get into a trade over the weekend or anything like that. But depending on what happens here in the next couple days, next couple weeks maybe, I think we'll determine when an altcoin season is. But I'm not going to speculate on that right now because really, despite it looking like it has some legs, it doesn't mean it has legs. It's not confirmed yet, but it's looking like we might get some upside here. How far up? We'll have to reassess if and when we get there. Okay? But for now, that's all I got for you guys. Perma bull out.